Okay, calling to order the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for the Town of Ashford, regular scheduled meeting for Monday, July 13th at 7:02. Um, Mike, is Caspian on?
I do not see him here, at least by name.
Okay. Well, we've got the recording, so we can go by that should he not be able to come on or we need to fill in.
I'll let
So,
you know if he joins late.
okay, thank you. Um, Just a quick look at the seating. I've got Michael Pepin, Mark Schnabel, Tom Hastings, Janet Bellamy, Steve Pesh, and myself, Jeff Silversmith. Did I miss any commissioners? Okay, so no Nord, Jerry. Okay, and then the open spot, and no Doug for filling in. Okay, very good. Um, So we do have a quorum of commissioners with six, so we will continue with the meeting. We've got a thick agenda, jam-packed with lots of zoning stuff, so we'll get right into it. Starting with the approval of minutes from the June 8th, 2026 meeting. Um, let's start with a motion and then we'll go to discussion. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from June 8th?
This is Janet. I'll approve them.
Janet motions. Is there a second?
I can second it. This is Steve Petch.
Steve seconds. Okay. Discussion. Any issues in the minutes themselves? Problems, mistakes? I didn't say this, so why is he saying I said this? Anything like that?
No, well done.
If only he was here to hear you say that. That's nice. Um, okay, hearing no problems. Do we have a motion? We have a second. All those in favor of accepting the minutes from June 8th as written, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Unanimous, 6-0. Very good. Um, Opening up now to public comment. Again, the public comment is limited to topics or items not otherwise listed on the agenda, especially for the public hearing. But if there's anything you wish to comment on outside of that at this time, please feel free, raise your electronic hand or wave me down, whichever. Okay, hearing and seeing none, we'll move on from public comment. I'd ask anyone who doesn't have their mic to be muted. Please do so. We're getting a little bit of feedback and some background noise. Um, Bills, I see no bills on here. Nothing, Michael, that you're aware of?
Nothing new.
Nothing new. And no correspondence listed. I did want to mention, though, we did receive two mailings from CROG, the Capital Region Council of Governors. And one was on 6/18 and one was on 7/1. And many of them had to do with, many of the towns were dealing with SSA-25-1, which we will be talking about tonight also. In the 6/18, there was Wellington, Marlborough, and Manchester that listed information that they would be having their hearings on that subject in July. And also on the 7/1, July 1st, there was Bolton, Granby, Windsor Locks, and New Britain. Um, I'm also kind of curious about the Mansfield one regarding home occupation related to short-term rentals, which is to be held on 7/20. If anyone is interested in following up on that and maybe gleaning some information out of that, I'm going to try to be on that at or listen to that hearing. But again, no other correspondence received. So we will launch into the public hearing for PZ-26-4, modification of special permit per 317C for the construction of an 8,000 square foot multi-purpose building at 46 Floating Road. Owner, our companions, contact Kay Grindle. Reminder, our hearing procedure will follow that we will hear from the applicant and the applicant's representatives first. We will then hear from the public. And I remind anyone making comments to limit their comments to 3 minutes or less. And their comments should be directed at the very least to the commission, but especially to the chair at this point to be recognized and to be acknowledged. So after hearing from the public, we'll hear from the commissioners asking questions of the applicant. And then the applicant will have if the questions and such from the commissioners lead to the potential closing of the hearing, we will have a last comment from the applicant at that point and look to potentially close the hearing unless there are outstanding issues. Okay, so we will open it up to the our companions group to speak of this structure and or their architect or whoever engineer, whoever they wish to speak first.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Chair and Commission members this evening. For the record, my name is Kevin Grindle, an associate with the firm of Barton and LaJudas, who is here representing the applicant, being our companions. With me this evening is Emma Bloom on my team as well with B&L, as well as many representatives of our companions team, as well as the project's general contractor with Zlotnick Construction. So I will provide you with a, be it brief, but as comprehensive as I deem it possible on my end, as far as a brief presentation for how we got here, what the application contains, and what our companions' ultimate goals are. And then obviously following the procedure of the public hearing, we will be here to respond to any comments received. So with that, I will first share screen and sending a request to do so.
Should be all set, Kevin.
Excellent. Thank you, Mike. All right. So sharing screen, you should see on the monitor the overall site plan generally colored in green. Please confirm that you do see that.
Yes, we do.
Excellent. Thank you. So the application consists of, generally speaking, an 8,000 square foot building addition on the facility that our companions operates at 46 Floating Road. You do see that in general outline here. Once again, I will go into much more detail, but procedurally, just noting I have reviewed the items that have been uploaded onto the OneDrive. Those items including the approval from Eastern Highlands Health District. That approval was received by us on June 25th, as well as, and again, just as far as this quick screen share here, recognizing that this is the approval from Eastern Highlands. You also have noted the abutters notifications for public hearing. Those notifications, receipt of mailing, are also noted to the group on this screen share, as well as correspondence from, and forgive me as I toggle through here, and forgive me, I haven't gotten there yet, but I will also acknowledge that we have received comment from Willimantic Waterworks or Wyndham Waterworks. Those comments were initially received on 6/29. We responded to those on 7/6. Follow-up additional comments received on 7/8. Those are also on the OneDrive. And then I am prepared to review the responses that we've submitted back to Wyndham Water. Those submissions went back today, responding to their comments of 7/8. So just administratively getting those items out of the way before I roll through the presentation itself. So overall, what you're looking at is our companions It's been operating for 25 years on a campus of totaling about 47 acres, subject property of 42 acres. So that is in our project narrative. Working successfully at the sanctuary with generally 30 staff and over 300 volunteers to the organization. So very, very successful organization and very proud to be in Ashford and seeing the growth in their operation at such as time as we're now looking at this new building expansion. So affectionately referred to as the barn, kind of internally on our project team, and referred to as such in some of the presentation materials. What the barn allows the sanctuary to do is enhance their services on this property, caring and training for the animals in their care, as well as providing or serving as a hub for the visitors and programs that they operate out of this sanctuary property. Serving double duty as far as visitors and trainings, it's also for their staff, where this will be a focus for the meetings, staff offices, and connections with their staff on site. So initially, I think it's also very important to say that this expansion to their operation on this property is not resulting in any additional animals and no additional staff. So I think that is very important for the commission and for members of the public to understand that this is really just serving existing training operations and existing staff. Obviously, many of you understand and know the property. Those who do will see that there is not a main center for gathering, and most of their trainings, larger trainings, are currently held outside. So the point to this project is that we're bringing those training operations and staff meetings and volunteer organizations or volunteer events under one roof, effectively. So this building, quote, the barn, is really just serving to reinforce their existing facility, not expand it. And that I will touch on in regards to the extent of the proposed improvements on site. So once again, now I can focus in on the plan a bit. The plan itself, you will see here in green on the left-hand side of the plan, that western side, that is, and as I note here, I will highlight, this here is Floating Road. This is their existing access onto their existing sanctuary property. All the buildings that are in gray are the existing buildings, totaling 9 on the site. Obviously, you have seen many of these previous buildings in front of you as far as site plan approvals and public hearing approvals. So I trust you are familiar with this property. But again, you will see those existing buildings in gray. You will also see a light gray shown the existing parking areas as well as existing paved areas that I'm currently highlighting generally. Once again, as noted before, since we're not expanding the uses, there is no expansion of pavement and there's no expansion of parking. So the parking that's out there now is 55 spaces scattered throughout the sanctuary, evenly dispersed in front of each building, and then with a large central parking area highlighted that I'm highlighting now with the X, that's adjacent to Floating Road. So 55 existing spaces do suffice and do meet zoning requirements for this proposed new use and new building. So what you also see is that there is a dark green section here, kind of triangular in shape. That is the existing detention basin, and that existing detention basin serves the paved parking and sheet flow runoff from all the grass areas. What we're looking to do now is expand this with the building. That building at about 8,000 square feet with some ancillary paved surfaces and sidewalks and overhangs and so on. Generally speaking, it's about 9,500 square feet of new impervious surface. So what you see here is what I'm highlighting now is a square section between the existing parking and the existing detention basin. And what we're looking to do there is create a new water quality basin to improve the treatment or improve the water quality coming off the existing parking lots. getting a little far into the weeds here, what we're proposing to do is connect the proposed building directly into the detention basin because that water is clean coming off the roof, and then taking some water out of the detention basin and cycling it through or infiltrating it through a water quality basin to improve the parking lot runoff. So a little switching up what's currently happening out there, but ultimately the net impact is there's no net increase to any of the storms that we generally on the engineering side calculate. Runoff, the 2, the 10, the 25, the 50, the 100-year storms are a net decrease. So I think, again, that's important to note just as a general theme that there is very, very minor impacts to the overall site on this, and that's a theme that you're going to hear me reiterate. So in the other items here, you will see that on the top of the sheet, there is a proposed septic system. Once again, that is the proposed septic system that we have received approvals for through Eastern Highlands. That proposed septic system is connected to the proposed building, as shown and highlighted in red there. That system will be a pump system similar to the other locations or other septic systems they have located on site. We took a very deep dive in looking at the best suitable soils on site and have determined that this area is the best, and thereby that's the reason the design is that far away, be it that remote. And that was also the result of the approval process through Eastern Highlands. So continuing with the theme of utilities, you will also see a water service line here in blue. And that water service line is connecting into one of the existing wells on site. Once again, the theme, very, very, very little impact and no need for additional utility services. That's the theme for the water as well. A very well yielding water supply well on the domestic side and very low flows on the building itself, just based upon the fact that there is very limited use in this building on a day-to-day basis. Generally just bathroom facilities, restroom facilities that you would typically see in a building such as this. So we're not talking about high flow conditions. Utility services as far as electric, obviously, we're all familiar with Eversource's lines on Floating Road, and we're expecting to connect into that overhead utility service on the electric side. Just to note, in regards to utilities, there is an existing backup or standby generator on site that we will likely also be tying into on this building. The anticipation is that we're using the existing standby generator and not needing a new one. As far as the mechanicals, the expectation is, or right now, the planning is that this building will be served by a propane gas system. And that propane gas system, depending on the final design, which we have not commenced, that propane gas system will either be above ground tanks as other locations on this sanctuary or possibly underground. We should also note that we were exploring solar arrays on the roof of the building in regards to obviously taking advantage of a well aspected southerly aspected the roof area and keeping with a theme of sustainability on the site. The expectation is that there will be solar on the property as well, just kind of hitting the themes of being good stewards to the property and good stewards to the land. So with that, kind of transitioning away from utilities, looking at the overall impact on site, like I said, I've already touched on the pavement areas being no change on the parking and access driveways. We are also looking at the existing landscaping here is shown in green as far as a good assortment of deciduous and evergreen tree canopies serving along the road, as well as interspersed through the sanctuary property. Since this building's 100 feet off the road and behind an existing parking lot that is already well screened, we're taking that opportunity to use the existing street trees to comply with zoning regulations, as well as existing buffers to the south on the property that have been previously approved through previous public hearings and installed. So we're well screened and well buffered in our opinion. And the only landscaping that we're proposing based upon the narrative that notes on the plan and narrative supplied as far as part of our application would be landscape materials, as I'm highlighting now, in regards to more aesthetic in regards to foundation and low-level plantings around the building. those would be non-invasive and native where possible, really just enhancing the overall character of the main entrance and so on. Again, things that we're very, very comfortable seeing in a building such as this. But again, minor in nature and interior in nature, just to account for the fact that we believe we have well screened the property in the existing conditions along the road. So other items, and one item to note in regards to the site plan checklist would be on lighting. That lighting is minor based upon the fact that we're utilizing existing light poles on the parking lot to provide low-level lighting on the parking side. Really, the only lighting we're proposing is the egress lighting at the building doors, as well as some minor amounts of lighting under the canopy. That canopy shown on the south side of the building, and that canopy lighting would be switch controlled, so that effectively, if you've got an event going on or a training going on in in the dusk hours or early evening hours, there would be the opportunity to turn on lights, no different than if the lights were under your covered porch. There would be some lighting opportunities there, and that would all be switch controlled. Any other lighting we'd be proposing to do would be, the typical photo sensor on, time clock off as far as egress and security lighting. Again, no additional parking lot or parking level lighting, as there are already lights on that campus. And again, I think the theme here is that we're not looking to light up the night sky. The point here is that the campus is kind of maintaining a general residential impact and residential feel during the evening hours. Thereby, nothing that we're proposing here is changing that aesthetic. So I think that's, as far as lighting is concerned, I've already touched on drainage, I've touched on utilities, I've touched on lighting. The items, again, I think it's worth noting that there are no additional animals being proposed and the same level of staffing and training sessions. So really there's no measurable impact on the facility. And I think that's the theme that we're also looking at, just going through my checklist items for the narrative, would be the traffic as well, keeping generally a theme of kind of residential scale traffic. The hours of operation to the sanctuary, generally speaking, a 7 a.m. start and a 9 p.m. completion as far as when the last staff and volunteers are leaving. So generally speaking, kind of a residential in nature, primary business hours during, working hours, with some earlier to open up and, open up the animals, and then some in the early evening hours up until 9 o'clock to shutter everything down. Note as well, everything is monitored via camera 24/7. So obviously for security purposes for both the residents, volunteers, staff, and animals, there is a measure of security that our sanctuary does not take lightly. So that is, again, a theme that's worth noting to the group here. So with that, I did promise that I would keep this short, and I have been talking for a few minutes now. So I will conclude my overall presentation, but noting that the only item that I did indicate I would be prepared to review would be the comments to Wind and Water Works that went back to Wind and Water today. At the Commission's preference, I can go through each of those, but I promise you our interpretation of those comments were minor in nature, and there would be no significant impact to the overall site application as you see it today, based upon addressing and satisfying Wind and Water Works' comments. But again, for the sake of brevity, I do not need to read each of those unless you would like me to. So with that, I will conclude my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grindle. And I tend to be in agreement with you regarding the comments for Wyndham Waterworks, with what was originally asked for and your response and what they came back with. I think it looks more like, they're offering up that this would be a good idea, or for you to keep this in mind, as opposed to, an actual action plan of any type. So we don't, when you've responded to those, I don't see anything earth-shattering in there. And again, thank you. Is anyone else from the companions going to be speaking besides you?
No,
Okay.
no, we're done with that presentation.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So at this point, we will, so can we, if we can stop, well, I guess we can keep the sharing up here. It's just harder to find who's talking. Um, Open up to the public. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to share, comment, or this is your time? So again, either by electronic hand or waving. Actually, if we could take down the share just for a moment so we can see who's, and if we need to go back to it, we'll do that. Thank you. Oh, counting to 13 is a long time to do that. That's what my boss always told me to do. Count to 13 when you ask the question. Um, Pregnant pause. Okay. I don't see anything unless I'm missing it. Please try to gain my attention if you have any comments from the public. Going once, going twice. Okay.
Yeah,
Yep. What do we got?
I just wanted to note now, while we're waiting, there were um, about a dozen letters of support provided in writing with the application materials that are posted from several different folks. So those are online, but we did receive, there were, I think, 12 or 13.
Oh, okay. Um, when I went in, well, maybe I didn't page through. I only saw the one that came up.
So
But
there's a public comment support, and then there's letters of support. And the letters of support I combined into a single document, but there's, I think,
okay.
11 or 12 pages.
Oh, all right. So I didn't flip through it. That was my fault. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Mike. Um, so those are comments from the public for support. In that case, then I'm going to open it up to the commissioners. If the commissioners have any questions, again, now is the time to respond to those. Any of my commissioners have anything to say?
Wait.
There you
Oh, hi.
go.
Yeah, I think everyone in town is really happy with our companions. And my only concern was the runoff from this huge building, but it sounds like you're taking care of that and protecting the waterways. So I commend you for doing all of that. Thank you. And otherwise, I think I don't have any other comments.
Thank you, Janet. Um, and just to give some scale, the proposed size of the building, it looks substantial in the renderings, but it's basically about 10% larger than Dollar General over on 44. I believe Dollar General is about 7,200 square feet. So not as formidable as it appears to be in the renderings. I have a couple of questions. The just the training, the purposes, training animals, open house for fundraising, offices, storage area, bathrooms and break rooms. Where does all this take place now, this activity? Is it like only in the when the sun's shining type of thing and you can be outdoors to do this?
The and please, if there's anybody from our companions that would like to jump in, I will start this and indicate most of the trainings in larger capacities are done outdoors, weather permitting. In regards to bathroom facilities, obviously the existing buildings on site do have restrooms. They're just I'll say less convenient for staff if they have to traverse the sanctuary campus to get to them. And then office locations and administration are accounted for kind of ad hoc in regards to locations inside the existing buildings. But again, obviously there are sanctuary members here that have that a lot better understanding of how those go, how those actions occur currently. So if there's anybody that would like to jump in, please.
Yeah, this is Susan Linker, and yeah, I would agree with that. Oh, John Phillips is our sanctuary director. He's here with us too. So I'll defer to him because he knows what's going on there far better than I do.
Yeah. So of those various Kevin was correct. Our training takes place outside, weather permitting, when we can do it, which is very, restrictive. Large meetings. We currently don't have a space big enough to fit our entire staff to have a meeting. So that's part of the purpose of the building. There's also no break room, no established break area for the staff either. They take their breaks where they can find room in kitchens and things like that. So yeah, some of these things are occurring outside, and some of them just don't have a space currently.
Sorry, I got popular all of a sudden. Get rid of that. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. The only other couple of comments that I have, and I think you've already dealt with them really, is I was looking at the distance to the septic system, and it looked to be about 750 feet, which is pretty substantial. But if it's none of my business if it's gone through Eastern Highlands and been approved, so that's fine. Um, and the height of the barn, the planned height of the barn does still stay below the requirements of 35 feet for the town?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Hi, Kevin. This is Tom Hastings. I was just wondering if there's going to be any special fire protection.
The fire protection will be designed during final design of Zlotnick construction. So I will say, I understand this is effectively a non-answer, but I will say that any fire protection will be, building code compliant in regards to, building official and fire marshal. But at this time, that's not been finalized unless members from Zlotnick construction can say otherwise.
Okay, thank you.
I can chime in for Zlana Construction. Luana Stanulonis, project manager. Currently the project, the building itself, falls under the threshold that would trigger a fire sprinkler requirement. So we are currently not planning on a fire sprinkler system for the building.
So I guess what would that include? What would a plan for the building of that size include if it falls underneath the sprinkler requirement? Are we talking fire extinguishers, potentially some type of fire hose or something in the system?
Well, to clarify, a fire suppression system for the building is different from a fire extinguisher. We
Right.
would have to meet requirements. I talked to the fire marshal about the requirements for fire extinguishers, and we'll select locations throughout the building
Right.
and appropriate fire extinguishers. But the threshold for fire suppression is 12,000 square feet. We are
Okay.
below that threshold, so
Yep.
I don't currently think that we would be traveling down that path for this project.
Okay. All right.
And in regards to health safety as well, I mean, obviously, fire extinguishers, and then we'd be working closely with the project architect to, passive egress and, egress door locations and so on, so that this would all be, fully compliant with the latest, both building code and then kind of also energy code as far as the bulleted items that I had mentioned as far as the mechanical system. So again, those are all in process, but at this point, we can be assured that everything will be up to current standards.
Mm-hmm. And I know in 25 years, obviously, knocking on whatever I have here, wood, formica, whatever it is, there hasn't been an issue, I believe, with fire response or anything like that. However, nearby bodies of water that the fire department can access, um, is that out there as to how far away those might be? I know there's the one pond up to the what would be the 2 o'clock from about where the current building is, or the proposed building is.
Jeff,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, in speaking with the fire marshal when he reviewed the plans last week, he did indicate to me that there's an existing underground fire cistern on the property already that was installed previously.
Thank you.
So
I
they
didn't
would,
want to have to ask the question and introduce it. Great. Thank you. I just know that we had that requirement when it came to Dollar General moving in and having a cistern put in place. So I just wanted to be sure that we had something similar in nature because it's
yeah,
about, again, about the same size.
based on the size, the regulations would require they install the cistern if they're not within 2,500 feet of a dry hydrant.
Right, right. Thank you. Okay, about any commissioners, any other time to get their heads around anything? Any questions? That's probably a good sign. Um, I see no hands. I see no one waving at me or anything like that. So at this point, I'll ask for a final comment from the applicant.
No final comment from us. Thank you very much. I think this has been a great dialogue, great conversation. I hope we've answered all of your questions.
Yeah, it seems you seem to have. I don't see anything coming up. So be that I will seek a motion to close this public hearing from the commissioners.
Mark Shinobu, motion to close public hearing.
Thank you, Mark. Is there a second?
Second, Tom Hastings.
Motion, Tom seconds. All those in favor of closing the hearing for this evening of the PZ 26-4 modification of special permit 300-17C for the construction of an 8,000 square foot multi-purpose building at 46 Floating Road, signify by saying aye.
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 Unanimous, 6-0. Thank you. Thank you very much, folks. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the support. And again, I echo Janet's earlier statement. I think we've been very, very pleased with the neighbor and neighborhood that you formed with companions. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you all very much. Administratively, should we continue on attending down to item number 7, Commission Business A, to hear the vote, or will 6B be a lengthy dialogue that we don't need to stay around for?
It will not be a lengthy dialogue, I believe. It's a single page item that Mike put together based on our input from last time. It's just kind of a final version to look at. So we'll probably get to that A very, very quickly if you want to hang on.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that clarification.
All right. Speaking of which, public hearing, commission initiated updates and correction to townwide zoning map. So, Mike, this is our own inbred type of thing. Do you want to bring us up to speed regarding the zoning map that you have provided?
Yeah. So as I had indicated the last couple of meetings, the zoning map that was prepared in and around 2014 in conjunction with the sort of comprehensive revisions to the zoning regs had always lived as an attachment or an insert in the zoning regs, but was never actually adopted by the commission and has been largely treated as the zoning map that is on the books, but was never officially adopted. My suspicion is that it was probably included with the draft regulations, and everybody thought at the time when the regulation amendments were adopted that that became part of that because it was a page within the book. But the zoning map is sort of has to be adopted separately and individually. The notes that I was able to find showed that part of the reason why it was always treated as a draft is that there were some areas where it wasn't complete. And fast forward to where we are now, that was 12 years ago, and the reliance upon that document has been inconsistent. Some places you go, for example, assessor's records might reflect the old map from 20 plus years ago. That's black and white. The zoning regs reflect zones that are on the new map. So my my suggestion, my proposition, which is what is ultimately before you now, is that we take both versions of the map, we pull them together, and we adopt a version that encompasses sort of both maps, so that no commercial property is made non-conforming by flipping to residential. So this does, so what I will share my screen now. And I will see if I can show you this in a way that's easy enough. All right. So what should be coming up now? This is the draft zoning map as proposed currently. So this is sort of the decision that is before you. And one of them is a JPEG, so I'm going to have to do it this way. So I'm going to try to show you the first and then take you through it just so you can see. So this is the map that was sort of last officially adopted as best I can tell. This is a very, very old map. It references a zone that doesn't exist. The recreational area zone doesn't exist anywhere. And along with this came these written descriptions of each of these commercial properties. So you can see they sort of just existed all over the place. And they resemble in a lot of ways the area that became the zoning map in 2014, which I'm going to switch to now. So this is the map that was in the zoning regs in 2014. So you can see the commercial zone in the 4474 area did kind of resemble that. You can see the recreational area, our zone went away, and we just have the RA zone across all of town. Portions of the IID, were listed on the previous map, but essentially everything after Town Hall, I know it's a little bit tough to see, but everything after Town Hall was left to be residential. So every commercial property from the Town Hall to the Eastford line by this map is made non-conforming, all of those commercial buildings. Midway, the building, I forget, that's across the street from there, the package store, all those businesses at that intersection, all of them by this map non-conforming. And I don't see anything in the notes, all the documents and some of the minutes that I've read that leads me to believe that this commission intended to make every single commercial property on that entire swath of 44 non-conforming. It does not make any sense to me. The other thing that this map establishes, which is in the regulations, is the technology development zone, which is on the left-hand side on the Willington line. The old zoning map does not have that. So what we've done is we've gone through parcel by parcel, description by description, and compared the old map to the 2014 map and basically combined them so that all of the properties keep the designation that sort of aligns with the use, and we don't run the risk of having a commercial property that based on the official map should be commercial, but based on the draft map is residential, et cetera, in a position where they are not, they will not be conforming. So the final map that I will show you is where we started, which is the proposed map. This would become the official zoning map. So you can see the commercial zone is the same, but you can see as you move down 44, the commercial properties that were shown in the original map get picked up correctly as commercial properties. We're not adding any new properties. We're not expanding this in any way. It's just the properties that were shown there. You'll see we also pick up and establish the Lake District, which the commission adopted, but was not codified in that old map. We're not adding that now. It's just we're formalizing it on the single map. And then again, the same thing for these parcels up here on the northern section of town. These were listed as on the official older map, and so they become commercial. So the point here is to sort of establish this as the baseline. Commission can certainly choose to modify it from here, but when parcels sell, particularly on 44, there's conflicting information all over the place as to whether or not we should be telling them it's a commercial property or a residential property and how to sort of handle that. So I think this is the best option without creating unintended consequences.
Okay. Anything else on that, Mike?
That is all I got, but I'll answer any questions, or if anybody thinks I missed something, I'm happy to elaborate.
So, excuse me, we are in a public hearing right now, correct?
Correct.
Okay. For basically a text amendment is what we're talking about?
Map amendment.
Map amendment. Okay. So I'll open it up to the public. If there's anyone from the public that wishes to comment on this. I'm very glad to see, personally, I'm just very glad to see the legend of C-7 and C-22 and the fact that only the first 100 feet of that property are commercial and the rest of it is wetlands or something go away. When it just doesn't make good zoning sense in any way, shape, or form. And you've picked up the properties along 44 and down that way. But any comment from the public? Okay. We will open it up to the commissioners. Any questions, any issues from the commissioners? Anything you want to ask of Mike on this?
Oh, it's Janet. Just want to say I think you did a nice job, Mike. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to try. I'm not trying to throw a monkey wrench into things. I just have a question that I probably should have asked the last time around, Mike. What about municipal properties? Properties owned by the town? What is their effect? If they were to be sold off by someone or to someone, and they purchase it, they're purchasing it in this case, depending whether it's as is, right? It's either a commercial zone or it's a RA zone, depending on what it currently is, even if the town owns it.
Right. Yeah. So there's no specific zoning designation. Some towns have the legal authority to exempt themselves from zoning regulations, because frequently what municipalities do doesn't match the surrounding, areas, right? You build a public works garage in the middle of a residential area, or you build a school, or so frequently there's a lot of conflict with the zoning regs. Ashford has not done that, so there would be no difference. It would be no different than any other person buying any other piece of property, in that they would be left to whatever the zoning regs allow for that zone, for future use, even if they purchased it from the town.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't be afforded any additional rights, I guess you could say.
Yeah. As an exercise in your spare time, it'd be interesting to see, and working maybe with the assessor, maybe it's more with Lynn, to go through and look at what the town owns for properties on something and add it, maybe not to a map, this map, but add it to another map that's functional for the Board of Selectmen or the assessor or town clerk to use. But I have nothing else to request. I think it's great. I think it's about darn time that we got this put in place. And it lets people's have it's one voice right now. It's not something, as you said, from 20 years ago and not something incomplete from 12 years ago. So, anything else from the commission? Okay, Mike, you're all talked out. You've done your presentation. You don't need a final word, right?
Nope, I'm good.
You're good. Okay. Uh, okay, so we will close the public hearing on this. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, excuse me, can I get a motion to close the public hearing? Let me stop taking over here.
Mike Pepe, I'll make the motion.
Mike makes the motion. Is there a second?
Janet, I'll second.
Janet seconds. All those in favor of closing the public hearing for the initiated updates and corrections to the townwide zoning map? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? 6-0 passes. I'm sorry. Abstentions. 6-0 passes. Okay, very good. All right. So that ends the public hearing section. We go on to the commission business. Hope that wasn't too bad, Mr. Grindle. PZ-26-4, discussion on the modification of special permit per 317C for the construction of an 8,000 square foot multi-purpose building at 46 Floating Road. Discussion, concerns, support. I mean, anything you want to add in here. This is the time to do it. Okay, seeing none. I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the special permit request. Is there a motion?
Make the motion, Mark Schnubel.
I
Mark,
have a suggested motion for you guys.
go right ahead.
Hopefully you're seeing it.
Coming up. Yeah. These are, and the conditions are based on,
Number one is standard. 1 and 3 are standard. And then 2 is just because we've got normally we would require that they install the fire cistern, but because we have one on site, it's just sort of codifying that the fire marshal will do a test of that to make sure it's in good shape. Typically they would anyway, but just to capture that.
okay.
It's within the regulations, but I'm just noting it because again, in this situation, we've got an existing tank.
Okay, so as Mike has put up together here, one, the commission finds the application complete and that the necessary information has been provided or deemed not required in accordance with 300-23E. And number 2, construction of the proposed building will allow property owner to conduct activities already occurring on the property within a building. Under those conditions of 1, 2, and 3, erosion and sediment controls installed, issuance of the certificate of occupancy upon the existing underground parking cistern shall be inspected and or tested as necessary. Underground parking cistern, is that meaning it's under the parking lot?
I don't know what the parking.
Okay. Cistern shall be inspected and are tested as necessary by Ashford Fire Department, and all proposed lighting shall be in accordance with 300-30. So that's the motion that Mark just made. Nice job, Mark.
Thanks.
Is there a second on that motion?
This is Mike, I'll second it. Mike Pepe.
Mike Pippin, thank you, Mike. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? So moved unanimously. Congratulations, our companions. Maybe have another 25 years of common effort Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Commission. Have a great evening, guys.
Good
Thank
night.
you, everyone, for your time and support. We appreciate it.
Okay, commission initiated updates and corrections to townwide zoning map. I think I probably made comments outside of the realm of the hearing, but any comments, any discussion on the zoning map itself? Concerns?
Oh, do we need, oh, this is the hearing, so we don't, I'm
We
sorry.
had the hearing.
Had the
We
hearing.
closed the hearing. This is our discussion about it.
What, if no, oh, okay.
Can't be a Yukon game on tonight. Okay, um, hearing no discussion from the commission. I mean, maybe it's all just no-brainers tonight.
This is Mark Schnoble. I've got one quick question, I guess.
Sure, Mark.
So I guess in the future, if we decided to create a town center zone, we would just modify this map with different requirements, or would it still be considered just a general commercial zone and it wouldn't be differentiated?
No,
If
we could,
went that
we would,
direction in the future.
not to put word, well, I'll let Mike answer that and see if I agree with him. Go ahead, Mike.
So if you decided to create a separate zone, then it would just become a new area on the map with a different color, and then we would adopt, uses requirements specific to that zone. If you decided to adopt it as a village district, which is a separate overlay, if you will, then we would highlight the areas on this existing map, which became part of that district.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Anyone else? Hearing, seeing nothing. Is there a motion to accept the new townwide zoning map with the updates and corrections as presented?
The only thing I would add is that like a zoning reg, we have to add an effective date. So looking at today being the 13th, I think simplest would be August 1st.
August 1st. Motion to accept and be effective for August 1st, the newly presented zoning map.
I'll make a
This is
motion.
Janet.
Oh, Tom, just beat you, Janet. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Janet, second. All those in favor of approving the zoning map signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Effective August 1. Okay, review of draft zoning amendments as required by SSA 25-1. So Mike has provided us. So Mike, I'm just so I'm clear. Whoops, you guys all disappeared on me here. Hang on, there we go. Just so I'm clear, were these other changes or just due to the way the system codifies the changes to the cannabis number and to the planning and zoning board of appeals number?
Yeah, so the way that the regulations are currently organized, each section is sequential. And so what that means is we don't have any place to really grow the regulations if we need to, which is why the Lake District was written to be section 20.1. And the way that this was written, it gives us an opportunity in this section to build for a little bit of potential future growth so that we're not creating sort of weird subsections. So what I'm proposing that we do is just adjust the numbering so that, and we kind of push the ZBA section, which is now 39, and we make it 50. And that then gives us the ability to grow the special regulations section that we currently have, which will become, this new section will become 40, and then it will leave 41 to 49 for future regulation amendments without having to sort of reorganize or create decimals. So there's no content changes.
Oh, okay.
So you just kind of pushed zoning board of appeals back to give us room for future
Exactly.
growth. Okay.
Not that I'm trying to sign you up for writing 10 new sections of zoning regulations, but over time.
Who writing what? I think you're kind of self-inflicted there. Okay, very good. So, do you want to, not necessarily reading it to us, but going over the material? Do you want questions from
Sure.
us? How do you want to work this
I
for
can
the 300-40?
I can take you through sort of quickly the major sections, and then if someone has a question or concern, you can stop me or we can get into it afterwards, just since it's a public hearing, if anybody from the public didn't see the last meeting. Okay. So just to recap quickly, these regulations are being adopted because in November, the legislature adopted an act, a special session act, Public Act 25-1, which requires that towns treat all projects which fall under the category of, quote, middle housing by what is defined as summary review, which means we cannot have a public hearing, cannot require a special permit, cannot require a variance, and we have to define, or we have to establish a non-discretionary process and review standards to evaluate these applications. So the traditional public hearing process where we bring them in and we decide maybe there's not enough of this, or maybe we want to adjust that, and the commission has this somewhat subjective and case by case analysis that they're able to go through. That can't happen with these applications. And so we're sort of left to having to adopt very prescriptive standards to address these. This law became effective in July. So this is the sort of proposed way to sort of handle this, and the way that many of the towns that I staff, or that my firm staffs, we have kind of suggested this go, which is to take sort of a quasi form-based approach to regulating this, to regulate where it can go, how it can be developed, but also to some extent what it can look like. So A gets into the intent, which I just described. B gets into the applicability. You'll see under number 2. So for number 1, I should say this is only applicable in zones that include commercial or mixed uses. So residential zones and industrial zones do not qualify, which is why we're including the GC and TD zones. And then under 2, those are the 2 definitions that are adapted from statute. So they tell us we have to allow transit community middle housing, which has nothing at all to do with transit, but really is just residential developments of at least 2, but not more than 9 residential units, including townhouses, duplexes, triplexes, perfect sixes, or cottage clusters. Those are the terms which come out of the bill. And then I have included a limitation there to cottage clusters, which do not exceed 1,600 square feet, because otherwise we would essentially be able to have single family homes on a single lot of any size. So I'm trying to limit that to not create a situation where we've got some unintended conflicts. And then mixed use developments are essentially any version of those residential type uses, which I just described, either in the same building or in a separate building, but on the same lot as some commercial use. So you could have a cafe or an office or a doctor's office or a contractor building or whatever, any type of allowable mixed use already in the zoning regs in conjunction with 2 to 9 residential units. We then get into the review process, which explains what you need to provide when you're submitting an application. This is very similar to what was shown to you before. We have our application form and checklist, a site plan, erosion control plan, all of which the regs already require, building elevations to show what the building is going to look like, a floor plan to show how it's going to be separated inside, and then a stormwater management plan. Again, this is the same as what you saw previously. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 really gets into the process, codifying both what the commission will do, so reviewing for summary review, and again, as I said, not requiring a public hearing or a special permit. We then explain the traditional process of reviewing the application, where we may refer this to the town engineer, fire marshal, chief health director, which is the term used in the regs, or town council. Again, this is standard process, but because this is not a public hearing, we need to write the commission's sort of process and logistics into the regulation explicitly. And then number 6, we are saying, hey, if you have let's say you want to do 9 units of residential, but you also want to do a gas station. You can't just stick a gas station on the property and say, oh, it's by summary review, I'd like my permit now. We're saying the commercial component is still bound by whatever steps in the zoning regulations would normally be required. So if the commercial use is a special permit, you don't get to skip that simply because you're building it with housing. So again, we're codifying that just to be very clear. D gets into building materials and design. So this is not contained within our current zoning regulations now, but these are sort of form-based to prescribe the materials and the type of building that you have to construct. So we're saying 60% of the facade has to include a primary material, which is in the diagram that's there. 20% has to include transparency. So again, this is for residential buildings. 60% has to have some type of natural material. 20% should have a window. These are going to be apartments or townhouses. Generally speaking, there should be some, transparency. This is something I think none of us probably think about because all of our buildings have it, but we have to be prescriptive. We're then talking about roof materials, asphalt shingles, wood shingles, shakes, metal tiles, etc. And then we get into building elements. So this language doesn't require. Oh, Mark has a question. Shoot.
You're muted, Mark.
You're muted, Mark.
Sorry about that. So on D3, which you just started, the last sentence says such design is expected to incorporate one or more of the following elements. Why only one? That seems pretty minimal. So if they stick a cupola on top of it, they've got.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what has come up in sort of prior conversations is, from a cost standpoint, but also from an existing building standpoint, it might be tricky to expect that somebody incorporate all of these details. So,
Right. I mean, there's at least 15 details, but requiring one out of 15 seems pretty minimalistic.
I mean, we could certainly adjust that language to raise that bar a little bit if you want to change that wording. I mean, we can certainly adjust that.
Okay. Is that I assume we discussed that at the end.
Yeah, so you could discuss how you'd want to modify it or how you want to adjust the language, and we can tweak it. Yeah. Section 4 talks about roof types.
Mike, before you go away from that,
Yep.
I just wanted to ask, what's section 9.5F in that same piece there.
Um,
Oh,
it should be, the section number may have changed. So it's the section which details is the renderings here, the building design examples.
hmm.
Did you ever get up to 9? I didn't see anything up to 9.
We might, maybe it, hold on, sorry, don't,
That's okay.
um, so I think I adjusted the layout of this. I think we probably would want to strike, I think it's subsection F, but I don't think we need the 9.
Okay. All right. I figured it was something like that. So I just, it was, trust me, it was the one thing I circled that I saw when I went through here. I understood what might not make sense. So go ahead.
Um, all right. Um, okay, so for roof types, we have language in here that talks about the types of roofs that are allowed and then does give a sort of an additional criteria for if somebody is to have a flat roof. Commission could certainly prohibit flat roofs. Again, when thinking about this from an existing buildings standpoint, there are several buildings in town which have a traditional flat roof. So this would make them non-conforming. This provides some alternative language for how a flat roof could be included if they incorporated certain features. We then have reference or language pertaining to unit configuration, that they contain fully independent facilities or all of the things that I think you'd normally see. We also have some language in there for personal storage that can become an issue, particularly in retrofits where people don't have space to store items and they end up being stored or stuck in places that they don't belong, which can create egress issues, can be unsightly, several things, and also just don't function well for the occupant. So we're having some language, suggested language in there to require there be a place for these tenants to have storage. And then requirements for operable windows unless otherwise prohibited. Parking should be provided at space of 1 per unit. There's language in legislation which says how and when you can regulate parking. So there's really nothing we can do to adjust that. We can't require it, and we can't have anything beyond the 1. We are limiting common parking, so parking lots and that type of thing, so that it's not located in the front yard. That would be landscaping or other things, and trying to limit the number of curb cuts so that you don't have several driveway access points in the development. 2, building orientation basically gives the developer the opportunity to match the contextual setback if they're building on a lot that's sandwiched between 2 existing structures, so that there's some consistency when you're doing this type of infill development, requiring that they be oriented towards the street or interior green space. And if there's more than 1 building, the smaller or taller buildings rather should be located in the rear of the property, so that they're sort of graduated. 3 gets into plantings, talking about the size, the location, and the frequency. We are also limiting the type of ground cover, so that it's not it really, again, with this idea of trying to create, number 1, appropriate buffering, because again, this is going to be in commercial zones. So this could be a commercial use now or in the future. In theory, this could be next to a gas station, could be next to auto repair. It could be next to any commercial use currently on site or currently constructed or currently allowable in the zoning regulations. So we want to provide sort of useful green space for tenants, but also strong buffering using native plantings between these, because this will be effectively, obviously, a residential use. So we're being as prescriptive as we can be And a lot of this language was taken from that I adapted through having written this many times at this point from some suggested starting points that Mark Brantz, who's a colleague of Ken Slater at Howler and Sage, the town's legal counsel, so this was adapted from some recommendations from them. We then have some green space requirements and then language for dumpster screening and refuse areas. We get into lighting and require full cutoff fixtures.
Wait,
Yep.
excuse me.
Yep.
On 3I, when you talk about foundation plantings, could we also recommend that those be native plants as well?
Sure. I can add. I can add that. Yep.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
Mark Schnubel, I had a question too on E3 6 dumpsters. Is 6 feet high enough? I mean, can dumpsters be taller than 6 feet?
Um, I I don't know that I've seen a situation. Generally speaking, they're not taller than 6 feet. Our regulations and the way we define structures and things draw that line there for fencing. So we would have to amend that because if they did something taller than 6, they'd have to like be out of we'd have separating distances. So we certainly could. We just would have to look at that definition to make sure we didn't conflict ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I was just wondering if it would be better to, state, 12 inches taller than the height of a dumpster or a foot taller than, 6 inch, 6 feet or, minimum. I mean, I don't know. It just seems, in the event that a dumpster's taller than 6 feet, just to make sure you're. Thanks.
Yep. All right, lighting. We're requiring full cutoff and shielded with no trespass. We're prohibiting floodlights, requiring a decorative light. So some non-commercial type fixture at an entrance. We're limiting pole heights. Again, this is to keep these sites more residential in nature. This also helps with light trespass and then lighting temperatures of 3000 kelvins. This again helps with glare and creating a more residential feel on the property rather than making it seem like they just put a bunch of apartments on a commercial piece of property. Some of these standards go a little bit further than our current regulations, but this is sort of standard, sort of higher level of review that a lot of towns would normally look at. Talked about green space. So the next section, which is split over both pages here, these are examples of the building types that the bill references that we had defined in that first section. So we have a symmetrical duplex, then we have a stacked duplex. We then have the triplex kind of multiplex there. And then the second row on the right is a perfect 6. These are things that we see in places like Hartford or maybe Bridgeport or Norwalk, etc. Not something I expect somebody to construct from scratch. I don't know that I've ever seen one built from scratch, but the bill says we have to allow those types. So all of these buildings are examples of buildings that exist here in Connecticut that have been constructed. So they're like a graphical representation of those buildings, but they're not taken from Arizona or from Portland, Oregon, or from some other place somewhere. They've been constructed in New England, with the energy codes and the snowfalls and all of those things. So it's an attempt to sort of explain what the expectations are and the types of buildings. The third row are showing cottage units. And then the last one is giving an example of how a sort of typical office building could then be converted to a residential style building and incorporate some of the elements that we have listed above. So you might, some changes to the entrance type, some trim, changing, very simple adjustments to how the roof line is shown, a cupola is added, some landscaping. So these are design elements and how that could be incorporated to show that this is compliant. We then get into the dimensional standards. So these are almost entirely taken, except for some of the stuff that we got into with the text above that we don't have bulk standards for. But the setbacks, for example, the location of parking, if we have language in our current regulations on the commercial zone or elsewhere, I've simply just brought it over. So with the exception of like where the parking is got to be located, or the minimum height, which I'm establishing, building separation and building width, those are new standards. Everything else is essentially existing. H is some providing language for the non-conforming elements that we will expect all developments to meet regardless of their pre-existing non-conforming status. So we don't want someone to come to you and say, I'd like to convert my commercial building into 2 to 9 units, but I don't want to do operable windows. I'm not going to do landscape buffering, green space, or lighting because it's already there. It's been there for 30 years, and so I'm going to claim pre-existing non-conforming. So we're saying here you're intensifying your use, and in every case, no matter what your existing site looks like, you're going to meet lighting, you're going to meet green space, you're going to meet landscaping, and you're going to meet operable windows. Those are the 4 that we're going to draw the line on. And then the sort of the alternate version of that is I, which is creating a pathway for someone to say, listen, I've got all of the requirements of the regulations, and I want to do this conversion to this of my existing commercial building, but I've got a flat roof and it's going to cost me $300,000. I'd have to basically take the whole building down. And so rather than doing that, I'd like to suggest I deed restrict this as an affordable housing unit, or tries to create a situation where the commission can have a bit more of a conversation if the applicant elects to do so. But it still gives them the right to go through the summary review process, but it creates a little bit of a mechanism so that we're not being overly restrictive and creating a situation where some of the requirements are so restrictive that we end up with nothing. So we're creating an alternative pathway through the special permit process for the commission to engage with those property owners in certain circumstances, decide that that might be appropriate. And with that, I'm gonna stop sharing, and if we'll answer any questions the commissioners might have. I think the only thing that I will say is, so this is just a review. We didn't do anything with this. This would have to be a formal public hearing. We'd have to get it referred. So the action that I'd be looking for tonight from the commission would be for us to agree that this is close enough to be worth considering at a formal hearing. I would refer it to NECOG, schedule a public hearing for the subsequent meeting. And I could certainly make these modifications. We can make them during or after the public hearing officially, but because this is effective in July, we want to get this rolling so that we're not left without a regulation into the fall. So you are not bound, you're not prohibited from making the amendments we've talked about, or even additional amendments during or after it gets referred. So we could certainly discuss them now, but you're not having to make sort of a final decision on what gets referred now. We can continue to modify.
And when you say referred, you're talking about referred through NECOG?
Right. Yep. And public hearing scheduled
Right.
referred to CROG, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. I like what Mark had said about, just sticking a cupola on top of it doesn't really cut it. Did you have a number in mind, Mark?
If you required three, that would be, approximately 20% of the list.
I had three in mind also, is what I was thinking about.
I did too.
Any numbers? Anyone from anybody else? Anyone throw in? Mike, this is like yeoman's work. I don't know. Is this is is this cookie cutter? Or I know there are some things that are specific to Ashford in here and stuff too, but is this kind of where a number of towns are going along these lines?
So back when the bill was drafted, there was a lot of discussion sort of offline or behind the scenes that they were going to try to push the effective date out 6 months from July to December.
Yeah,
But because Tyke represents so many towns, I recognize that whenever this happened, it was going to be a fire drill no matter what. And so we started coming up with a template just to capture the things we thought needed to be in it. And so this is sort of an Ashford version of the template, but there's a lot of, you know, I've probably written 15 versions at this point. So if we have a public hearing and we land on language that is, an improvement or that I think is important, I've tried to take the things that I've learned from Bolton, Tolland, Mansfield, Willington, Vernon, Madison, Guilford, Milford, Woodbridge, and tried to incorporate it. Each time we kind of refine it and tighten it up a little bit.
right.
Um,
Like each
so
tweak makes it a little bit better. Yeah,
because each town sort of has the things that have come up that that they have in their minds and so it's all different. And so, a couple of towns really have a hard time with not having personal storage in units, right? Vernon had a big issue with that. Some other towns have had problems and concerns. And unless you've experienced that, you're not looking for it in the language.
it's very interesting though because in reading that it did strike me that we're regulating personal storage, how many closets a landlord puts in or something. But I guess if towns have experienced that as a problem when it comes to development and things like that, then yeah, you are aware of it. But yeah, it just struck. That's one item that struck me in reading through this as to us like looking at that, but fully understand it now. Thank you. Any other tweaks or changes or items, questions from the commissioners? Good or bad, it really, the good being having this template and having this information put together, the bad that some folks feel it's being forced upon them across the state. I think it feels good to be able to put something like this together, and give our regs some teeth when it comes to uh, new development and what goes on. I know, it's not to put words in his mouth, but I know Mark has been a proponent of, guidelines and limitations for folks. Too many pillboxes being built with cinder blocks in the town because it's inexpensive, cheap, and gets the job done, though it is somewhat unsightly as you go through it. Um, so I think it's great. I think it's a really, really great thing. I would like to see us maybe go with three items under the heck is it? C no D3.
Yeah, so I can, if the commission is comfortable with the language, I can make these edits and that and three or four that we've discussed, and I can refer that version for the public, that will be what will go for public hearing.
Okay. All right. Um, so to that end, is there a motion from the commission to move forward with this whatever we're calling it, the middle housing response for SSA 25-1 with the changes discussed this evening for Mike to move forward for referring to uh, the appropriate groups.
I'll make the motion.
Janet,
Second, Mark Schnoble.
Mark. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Does that get you the information you need and the language you need to move forward?
Yep, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Very good. No, this is impressive. I think it really sets a tone for someone coming in to develop, even if they're doing it as a right. There are still rules. It's not just wide open Wild West. Great. So that'll move forward for a public hearing, as well as the referral.
Yep.
Just like we get letters like that, for their public hearing. Okay. Very good. Okay. Sorry to keep you folks waiting. We probably should have moved this up on the agenda at the time. It didn't strike me, so my apologies. Informal discussion, possible use of lot 47-A-4 in Kennerson Reservoir Road to include well, the discussion includes Henry and Paul Nickerson. They did provide today, everyone should have gotten that copy of the intent of what they're looking to do. But if you gentlemen want to, in layman's terms for us simple folk,
Yeah.
explain what it is you want to put out there.
Yep. Yeah. First of all, thanks to the commission for adding us to the agenda so late. We're just trying to get in touch with you guys early on as we start planning what we're going to do and whether we want to move on that property. Everything seems to move so fast these days with the way property is bought and sold. And so we talked to Mike. He gave us a recommendation to try and get with you guys just to get a first feel for what it would look like to have that land zoned for basically building the cabin camp described in the documents. I'm Paul Nickerson. This is Henry Nickerson. We're third generation owner operators of Nickerson Park Family Campground on 198 in Eastford Chaplain line here. And we spent 3 generations now trying to curate a rather quiet clientele for our campground. I know Ashford has some history with campgrounds and RV parks, and we're want to start off the entire conversation with we're not trying to build an RV park in Ashford. The goal is to do as minimal development of the land as necessary to allow for the placement of those sort of higher campground, someone call them campground style cabins. So it's a not people hauling campers up and down Halls Pond Road or in and out of the development back there. It would be the placement of those sorts of high-end cabins in the area. I can send some. We sent the pictures over with that narrative. The most important ones would be like the most important calls would be just the quality of cabin that we're trying to put back there, and then the number of them relative to the acreage back there. So it's a large tract, about 150 acres back there. The goal would be to do minimal development. So the aerial shot that's inside of that package that we sent over is of the development of one of the postcard parks. So those are owned by Marriott now. As you can see from that, it's not like a conventional RV park where you're doing land clearing, you're doing land development, you're creating parking lots and fields and things like that. The goal would be just to put in the necessary access roads to get people back to the cabin locations. And so we'd be able to keep a lot of the green spaces, a lot of the forest would stay there. So we're not trying to cut back there and put in some sort of residential development or suburbia or something like that. We're here on Nickerson Park. We've got the campground here on the Natural River. The environmental side of this is incredibly important to us. I mean, we've got two other houses on Falls Pond Road, Anderson Reservoir Road there. We grew up at the pond there, and the last thing I want to see is someone carve a private lot back there and start knocking down trees and putting in houses. So, you know, it's an interesting expansion of the Nickerson Park offerings, but it's selfishly we're trying to keep the place a little bit quiet and underdeveloped back there, just so that the lake gets preserved, the forest back there stays preserved. So that's kind of the general picture. We're looking at just trying to make sure that what we do would fit into the zoning regs and the land use for that space, just before we get too involved in whether we actually want to acquire the land, whether we want to develop a development plan, things like that. So I know that we're just trying to figure out how we navigate the campgrounds, regulations around campgrounds, steering away from things like short-term rental regulations, and just want to get your guys's first thoughts, gut reactions to that sort of a development back there.
Okay, thank you. So I'm glad that you kind of identified what your vision is, and again, not that we have anything wrong with the current camping situation we have here in Ashford. Uh, but yeah, when you add in, you're not looking for the RVer. I guess my question, and it's a little leading question, that they would say in court. Describe to me the average person that is seeking the accommodations you're proposing. The number of people, length of stay, amenities being sought.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So the campground that we have here that we currently run, this will give you a little picture of it. We're kind of restrictive in a few aspects. Like we've intentionally steered towards keep it really quiet, keep it family oriented. So we don't allow groups over a couple of families at a time. We have limited our tent camping, so we don't allow like tents to be here for more than 2 nights at a time, just because it ends up being a crazy ruckus when you end up with too many tenters all in one spot all at the same time. We don't allow things like electric golf carts, and so and then we also don't, here at this campground, we don't do events. So like we don't on our holiday weekends we'll get a music band together just to play for the seasonal people that are around. But we don't do like the large kids programs, large family programs. Our thing is, if you're coming to come camp, go hiking, go fishing, go ride your bike. So we try to maintain a very quiet, friendly campground, family friendly campground. And we have limitations on things like, if your camper's more than 5 years old, you have to actually send us photos of it, because we don't want someone with a 20-year-old hunk of metal that they're actually secretly living out of coming in under the guise of, I want to be a seasonal, and then come end of season it's a pain. So similarly, we're trying to extend that same level of control and same clientele out into this project. So it would be families with disposable income. We're looking at pricing or somewhere around $250 a night for a cabin is typically what these things go for. So it's people who can afford to get out and are being very intentional with going out to go camping, to enjoy the outdoors, to enjoy the wildlife. It's people who basically want they want a high-end hotel in the middle of nowhere. And so that's what these cabins kind of cater to. It's like, I want the Marriott hotel, but I'd really like a view of the forest and I want to go hiking. And it's like, okay, that's kind of where you tend to see these types of cabins being utilized. And that's where we're focused. So extensions of stays would be things like, same thing that we manage here would be weekends, and then weeks around holiday weekends. So we'd be limiting it down to short-term transient. We'd run the same regs as we run here, which is no one can declare a residency. No one can be here for extended periods of time. Like, we're not playing any of those games. You're in for, you're being billed by the night. You're in for a long weekend around the holidays. You might come out for a week for vacation or things like that. We're not looking for any sort of extended, agreements with anybody.
There's only so many beds inside each cabin.
Yeah, so we limit the number of beds in cabins, limit the cabin sizes, things like that. So
Mhm.
you're not trying to, have people try to move in.
Limit to how many beds?
Majority of them are a queen size bed or a king size bed. We do have some models that they do show. They do have a bunkhouse in the back, so you usually have a queen with maybe two bunks or one single bunk. So you had a family with two kids is kind of the ideal. Trying to keep them all down within small square footages, as you can see in the pictures that we have showed as well.
The way that we currently run it here, because we keep drawing on what we do now, but it's the same, operating principle, just instead of metal boxes, they're cabins. Like right now we have limits on our campers that a family unit, one site can have one family unit and one camping unit. So you can have two adults and their children inside of one camping structure, be it a tent or an RV. And so even like with the campground that we have now, it's very, you can't show up and say, I got 6 adults and 13 kids going on one site. It just becomes chaos and no one wants to deal with that. So even like with how we run it here, like, okay, if you want to come camping and your friends want to come camping, get 2 campsites next to each other. But we're limiting it to a campsite is one family, 2 adults, their kids. And it's the same game with these cabins where you go, okay, the cabin can hold 2 adults and their kids and no more than that. And some of them are even designed, just to hold 2 adults. So it'd be, a single queen bed, single king bed type setup. Similarly to how like some higher end hotels would run. So
Okay. Thank you. And as for, as I look at these pictures, I get an idea, and I think I've seen, these things on TikTok and things like that. It seems like, except for a picnic table and a fire pit, people are just looking to get away and into the quiet of the woods. They're not looking for bingo on Wednesdays, movies on Thursdays, and a wiffle ball tournament on Saturdays or anything like that.
correct. Those are our people. If you're going camping, go camping. So
We have 15,000 acres of natural. Yeah.
yeah.
Any questions from others? I don't mean to manipulate. Yeah, Janet.
Yeah, you didn't provide a map, but could you describe where this property is?
So if you're going down Henderson Reservoir Road from like the 198 side, you cut past the pond and then you go right past the dam control house, the little brick dam control house. Before you go up the hill, like right as you round the corner and you start going up the hill towards like Frukoff's farmland, there's a driveway for a duplex right off to the left, and the property wraps around that back side of the lake. There's the pretty house with like the rainbow sunshine thing built into the patio. It's up behind that, and it wraps around that backside of the pond, and then it butts the state park that is on the far end of the pond.
To the backside.
Yeah, so it's about a
So you
quarter
don't,
kind of pond.
so you don't have pond access. It's not on the pond.
It is on the pond. Yeah, it is actually on the pond. Yep.
Oh, so I'm confused about where it is. If you're coming from 198, I was thinking of coming from Ashford. You're coming from 198 and you go past the pump house.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Tell me again what you do. I'm sorry.
You go up 3 houses and there's a duplex. So it goes, there's 2 houses that are like pretty much on the lake. You go right past that. There's a dirt driveway that goes to a duplex, and that driveway just keeps going past, and it actually goes up into a parcel that does run from state land in like the north down to the lake itself.
So it's sort of at the end of the lake.
There we go.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay.
It's deceiving because the entrance
It's not on the lake.
is
But
not
the
on
property
the
does
lake.
wrap around the other properties there and then comes back down to the lake, the backside of the lake.
Okay, and that's 150 acres? You said?
Yes.
It's about that, yeah, plus or minus.
How many units do you think you'd put in there?
Our target is
60.
around 40 to 60, depending. I mean, that's going to be over the course of
30 years.
20, 30 years of, we're trying to put them in 4 at a time and keep it kind of slow and grow it. So they're, well spaced out. And then again, the goal is our staff here is very excited because we don't want to put any fields or anything like that. So we're not trying to clear cut forests to make room for common areas and things like that. So unlike the campground here where we spend 2 days a week just on a mower, we don't have to worry about that over there. So
What about sanitation, water and sanitation?
So we'd have to run water. We have to put wells in for that. So we tap wells for those. And then for sanitation, there's two ways that we currently do it on the Nat Trog here. And we have a great relationship with Northeast and our campground currently straddles Eastford and Chaplin, so we deal with both health departments for this. Currently, there's either onboard tanks that would hold septic and gray water, and then the other option is so then those would get pumped out. And then where you're able to, with certain offsets from the lake, offsets from any waterways that are there, you can put in small single serve septic systems as well for running cabins like that. All of which that would have to go through, Department of Health and get their sign off on design and installation of those. But so it's either, depending on where you're located on the property, either hold it and you do a pump out truck, which is what we currently do down here for all of our camp that are on the river, or you have single serve septic systems that are used for single units when you're far enough off the river, or in this case, the lake.
And would these be year round or just some fair weather?
The current intention is just to do a seasonal access to it. So that makes it, there's a lot of considerations when it comes to trying to put roads back, keep roads cleared, put winter water, winter electric, all those things in. So right now we're just looking at trying to do seasonal development for it.
So you'd be thinking like an April to November, October,
Yep.
November type of thing.
Yep.
So
Usually it's
shutting them
all
down before it got cold.
Columbus Day weekend. So, early April through Columbus Day.
Yep. Mark, you're so polite with your hand raised. Go right ahead.
So, I mean, if I'm looking at the pictures, I mean, these aren't cabins, these are campers. These are trailered units.
They're typically constructed on trailer frames so that they're temporary structures and can be
So
moved.
effectively, it's a campground of 40 to 60 units where you're providing the camper.
Correct. Yes, because we don't want people bringing RVs in and
Right.
doing that whole thing.
But effectively, it's a campground with campers, but not provided by the person.
These
You're
are
effectively renting campers to people that want to come to this modified campground, non-traditional campground.
yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
There's weird. Yeah.
I guess the one is it's hard when you find these rural type cabins to get zoning and permit and things like that for us to like put something that close to the lake. I don't think it would be
Be
a
permanent
be a
structure.
permanent structure that would be good for the environment or anything such as that. So to keep a very minimum footprint essentially is that there's no foundation. There will be jacks to hold the corner stable and stuff like that. You would see in a more traditional camper. So that's kind of why we're kind of leaning towards how do we keep the footprint less invasive than going and saying, can we put in 40 foundations? Can we put in septics? Can we do all of that? We don't want to go down that path. But they are much more than I think a camper in that aspect. They are movable.
Yeah, but they're not meant for roads.
They're not made for roads.
So
they're not made for travel.
They're much heavier construction.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are on axle to be maintained as temporary structures.
And how do you see this benefiting Ashford?
Say that
Mostly
again, Mark.
tourism dollars.
How do you see this benefiting Ashford?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tourism dollars.
So
yeah, as we go back, we're trying to
I know exactly where
towards,
it is, but isn't it easier just to head into Chaplin, as opposed to I don't see why anyone would drive from Halls Pond to Ashford with the, limited services that we provide as opposed to driving into Chaplin and Wyndham on Route 6. I mean, if I was staying there, I would head out to Route 6 if I wanted to go to dinner or pick up supplies. I'm not sure, again, I'm not seeing the benefit to Ashford.
The only thing that I would add is that all the improvements to the property would be taxable.
Okay. Are, as far as portable structures, certainly aren't taxed. Like
So they would be taxed certainly are not going to carry the same value as a Winnebago that somebody tows behind their house or their car. And these are, I think, from a value standpoint, closer to a tiny house from a cost perspective. They would be taxed as personal property, just like any other improvement. Um,
think we lost Mike.
No, I think he's there.
yeah, I was gonna just kind of wanted to come back around to the I mean, I think Jeff may have said the reason that I had recommended that these folks come to the meeting tonight is because, as discussed, the current regulations are set up to address the existing operational aspects of Briley. There's a sort of a sordid history of the campground regulations being in the regs, out of the regs, applying to existing uses, not applying at all, amendments. It's kind of all over the place, but this would require a text amendment. So these folks would have to amend the regulations to allow the use, and then it would have to, if that were approved, come back to you to obtain a special permit to then conduct that use on that property if they are successful in purchasing it. And so there's a lot of hoops that would take a lot of time. And so I think the goal was to get feedback from the commission as to the use, because again, the text amendment is non-property specific. So I think the question is, does this type of use in a residential, in the RA zone across Ashford rise to the level of being something the commission would consider consider looking at an amendment to the regulations for? The specifics of the property or the operational sort of nuts and bolts would be sort of reviewed and litigated at a subsequent special permit hearing for the property if the text amendment were to be approved. So they would have a couple of steps ahead of them, all of which require hearings and take time. So I think they're just looking for some feedback on the overall use.
And that text amendment could open it up to other properties in town as well.
A text amendment, depending on how it's written, could be applicable widely or could be narrowly drafted so that it only applied to parcels in a specific zone of a specific minimum acreage. You could write this so that it only applied to properties that are at least 100 acres, for example. So it could be, all those qualifiers could be built in to restrict the number of properties that this could apply to.
But it would apply to more than just this property.
Yeah, yes, but again, you could very easily write this so that it would apply to very few properties. And they would still then have to come for a special permit, which would then allow the commission the ability to go through and review for all the things that you normally would. So the fact that they're eligible doesn't then mean they could simply conduct that use.
Gentlemen, if you can't tell, I think we're a little gun shy.
Yeah, no, understandable. That's why we wanted to just
That's
chat
why
with you
we wanted
guys.
to chat with you prior to even, we're looking at funding, we're looking at what we're doing for, the next, we're third generation right now. We're always looking to expand and keep Eastford and
Sure,
Chaplin, Ashford, what we've known and grown. So we're going to be here for a while in this town.
sure.
And we're just saying, how can we continue to grow and better the community around us? And that's why we're talking to you.
Right.
Yes, Janet.
Um,
Again, thank you for being so polite.
so yeah, I'm thinking about this. And I think this could work. I think this could work well because we could write it. I mean, it sounds like these gentlemen want to be good stewards of the land and want to protect the land, which would be, part of our goals. Um, if it's divided into individual homes, it's harder to, I think it's harder to have all those protections. Uh, and it could be written, with a maximum number of units.
Right. There could be limitations on the growth and things like that, you know.
So I see it, and also I love teeny homes, by the way. So, um, I see it.
You have your first customer.
Perfect.
I see it as a pretty positive thing for the town. And yes, people might not all go to Midway for dinner, but some of them will, and some will be coming from the west, and they'll be driving through town and getting gas and supplies and things. So, just having a nice recreational facility in town, I think is a bonus for us. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, we're pretty split right now. We're like dead located between where the campground is now between 44 and 6. And we're pretty split on who's coming from where as far as how many people come down, 6 from the east or who's coming down 84 to 44. So
People come through.
people come through there.
And then they got the wooden spoon and stuff. And if you do get an attraction like this, I think we bring a lot more eyes to Ashford as well. Just that your town has a facility like this. The closest one is about an hour and 40 minutes away from here, which is over Moosup. So I think it is good PR, good publicity. It's the same thing, the higher clientele that you're not tying yourself to, $60 a night camping fees that anybody can afford. You're trying to bring in people that will benefit the town.
Obviously you feel that there's enough demand for this, that you've seen it elsewhere, as you said.
Yeah, I mean that was the crazy. We've been looking at doing something like this for a little while, but I think the push for us was one, we've been ever since COVID, we've been just slammed down here at the campground, which has been beautiful. Love that. A lot of people are getting into and staying in camping, which has been really nice. It's a, great American outdoors hobby, which is I think we just need more of. But then Marriott spent like, I don't know, $26 million to acquire 2 of these camp places, back in the day. Like I think back in the day,
Yeah,
it was like
2024.
2024. So it was like, oh, okay, like this is like a model that works well enough for people to get acquired by Marriott.
Which is
that's not our intention. We would want to hold the thing for essentially forever. I mean, my grandfather built this campground 63. He built the one in Bull Lake Campground in Bolton before that. So we've been kind of in this forever. We're raising the 4th generation now, and we're kind of like,
I was just going to ask, is there a 4th and 5th generation?
We got 2. I've got 1. I've got a 1-year-old. So we're like, okay, we got to like there's a fourth generation coming, and we're just trying to figure out, we're limited with what we can do on the property that we have here just because of space. And we're like, okay, we want to stay in this industry. We love the camping industry. How do we grow close to home? I'm building a house on Kennerson Reservoir Road. We've got a house there on Halls Pond Road. So I don't want to see selfishly don't want to see the lake turn into a suburbitopia at any point. I'd hate that. So selfishly, I'm a fan of preserving the forest in the back there. It's gorgeous on that backside of the lake.
Well,
But
then
we
we
also
just
want to.
then we just need your kids right now to sign off on not selling it to a developer after we
Yeah, perfect. Yeah,
approve
I'd
it.
kill them.
Well, that's our job. We've been raised that way our whole life. You don't want to see the ponds also turn into homes that are just, $1.2 million. We've got one selling right now over there for $995, and it's just like
We're gonna end up with another New York
New York
family
people come
moving
in,
into.
buy in, and I think most people that are on the lake right now are outsiders. We can't afford people that live in Ashford can't afford to live on Ashford.
Who has
Or even enjoy the pond.
New Milford has a big issue with that too along Candlewood, where it's all basically it's all been bought up by New York
Yeah, it keeps happening.
ports.
So it's like,
So
I don't know. That's where, selfishly in the background, obviously it's a good business decision to put a cabin camp back there for us. Like, obviously we wouldn't invest the money and be dealing with all this if it wasn't. But selfishly, I'm like, I'm right across the street from you. Like, I don't want to see it turn into that. You know, we're from here. We're staying here. I don't know for what that's worth, but
any again these and I appreciate you coming to us for the informal discussion. Uh like I said, I think some of us have a little bit of once bitten, twice shy
yeah.
regarding this. However, there are I see pros and I see definite pros. I see potential cons to it, and it's just potential. I mean, whatever can twist and turn. That's kind of how my interpretation of it. We would have to put in, obviously, when we did the regulations for this, there would need to be limitations. Some of the things that Mark was talking about. Also, when it came to future development and things like that, as to what is allowable now in this day and age in 2026, and what's on the horizon. But again, those limitations, we don't want you to cause you to not make a good business decision on what you're doing either. Um, again, I also understand the fact that, like you said, real estate moves quickly, and you need some type of indicator here as to which way to go, which would be good from this body. I don't know if it's unanimous. We wouldn't necessarily. I mean, I don't know if it's our place to take a vote or to give you an indication. Unless people speak up and talk about, what they're feeling about this, what their feelings are, I think we're 50-50 on this right now, to give you some indicator,
Yeah.
or, what you've presented and what we've talked about and things like this. Don't know if you roll the dice on 50-50. I don't know. Not to be flip in any way. Is there any other input from commissioners on this to help these gentlemen to make a decision on where they are going to go?
Yeah, I feel like it's something that could be good. Um, Good way to preserve the land and enjoy the land the way it is. So I definitely see some pros there.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. Anyone else want to offer a opinion or a
This is
feeling?
Mike Peppin. Definitely a lot of pros, but without seeing some kind of plan It's kind of
Well,
strange to,
again, there's no vote. It's just a matter of them, wanting
yeah,
to work forward,
just an
move forward.
opinion. It looks great with limitations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
could, and hey, if they buy it, they could always sell it to some of those people from New York, So
Perfect.
That's yeah. I just want to get a pulse on the committee and see if you guys would say absolutely no way.
We're not doing the
We're not
camping
doing
thing
the
again.
camping. We don't want it. Then we would
we
be like,
don't
we won't even.
we don't have a full complement right now. We've got 6 out of
Yep.
8 current members. We're 1 member down.
Yep.
So again, it looks like, at this point, I see you a little better than half right now, for
Okay.
the 6 that are here. So that's, I don't think I don't know if we're gonna get a consensus on
Yeah,
this.
no. We just want to make sure that we weren't DOA with just the moment we say camp, it just
Yeah.
is red
Yeah.
lights from Ashford. So we were like, we're not in your town yet. We're here in Chaplain Eastford side of the pond, but we just figured, we'd show our face and get some, get some feedback, get reactions from you guys, and
Thank you.
we can make our decision from there. So this has been really helpful for us. So
Okay, I'm glad it gave you some, not so much closure, but gave you some indicators as to, how you want to move, or what you can move, or how quickly you can move. So, any other comments from the commissioners at this point?
No, just thank you, and thank you for the photographs.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for showing us your vision, and uh thank you for being so patient, coming up to the end of the long night.
no problem. It's the
Okay.
inner workings of the local government. It's always a fun insight.
All right.
So,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, coming to the home stretch here. We've got POCD final layout. I am so impressed, personally. I printed this thing out. It didn't choke off my computer. Um, it looks great. I it looks much better, but it's not even so much mixed feelings I had from that stupid uh what's the word I'm looking for? Um Guideline, or the thing that I had put together or tried to put together the last time around 10 years ago, with who works on what with the BOS and the COA and things like this. This is, at least identifies it much better instead of just a list of who should be doing what. I think that's a great section. I'm glad we were able to get the statements of the survey out there. I did talk with Mike personally. I talked with Mike about the end of it with the open-ended questions that do not have an indicator or do not have responses. And personally, my thought process is, the ones that are quantifiable are great. But when you get into like question 14, 15, 16, 17, we have answers to that. Those answers have been available. If they want those uh, open-ended responses, they can ask for them. I think it would make the document kind of overwhelming with the amount of material that would have to be added for those. I know at least one of those is actually already answered when it comes to, excuse me, I think question 14, what do you hope for? It's actually in the body of the uh, document itself. But other people's input, what do you think?
Well, if we have these questions without answers,
I was just suggesting we pull the questions at this point, or we make a statement, okay, or we make a statement that for full transparency, for the 6 people that are going to read this, for full transparency, we can make a statement that for information regarding other remaining questions on the survey that were offered, please contact the land use office or something like that.
we could also say the answers to the following questions helped inform, how we wrote POCD or something like that
Mm-hmm.
as well, and then put them all on one page, obviously. On my computer, they come up on, each question comes up.
Yes, yes, it does. Yep. Well, I mean,
Or you could just eliminate them. I don't really, either way, it's
if we're
fine.
not worried about full transparency, then yeah, I think we can, dispense with those, even though we did use them in making the final decision, which again is also laid out in the body as to how the committee gained the information they did from the community. Uh, uh, was it on page 6? So,
Just to Janet's point, to the reason why we didn't include them is because the narrative responses, the open-ended questions that we had in there, if we want to include them, it would be many, many additional pages because some people wrote quite a lot, and to get it sized right, so it would be adding a fair number of. There's really no good way to try to format it or get it so that it looked kind of cohesive. But I would imagine between the questions that are missing, it'd probably add 10 pages.
Yeah, I think just the graphs are enough.
yeah, ending up on the graphs and the data.
Mhm. Right, for the few people that are going to get to the back of the POCD.
That was a private little joke between POCD folks. So, um, yeah. So hopefully you've had a chance to leaf through this. Again, I love the graphics. I love the green backgrounds on so many of these things. I think it's laid out really well. The photographs are beautiful. Um, it's really a nice piece. Um, and even then, what we added in with the survey questions as well as the identified objectives for each area, that added 20 pages all by itself. So it's a substantial document at this point. Um, any further input from the commissioners regarding the POCD? Is there agreement to just remove those last few questions that lead to large narrative pages, the blank ones at the back end? Besides Janet and myself.
This is Mark Noble. I agree to remove them.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Thoughts from Steve, Mike, Tom?
Yeah, I say remove them.
Thank you.
Yep, the same.
Okay, very good.
Yep.
Okay, so we will uh advise to do that. Mike, what do you need from us?
Nothing. I'm good. I'm good. I will
No
make those
vote,
adjustments.
no vote, no push. We're just gonna move it on.
No, because you voted on the effective date already, so this is just some
Right.
simple formatting.
Yep.
So I'll just make the adjustments and then we'll get it filed with the town clerk.
Fantastic. Uh And again, I thank I don't know if it's Nora or Joe that's on. I thank Nora Galvin, Christina Sebo, and the members of the committee, Janet, Mark, and Luther, who left us, did his job, did a lot of work on the agricultural section, and gave us input before he left. Um, again, they did yeoman's work and produced a really, really great document. Took a while, well beyond the time frame we had hoped for, but again, worked diligently every week, and they were very, very impressive. Joe, I saw your hand up earlier. It wasn't a time for public input, but is there something else on this you want to mention?
Um, I'll tell Nora, I'll give her your thanks.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Please share.
And I'll give you mine.
Just tell her to watch the video, but go way to the end. That's all.
She's upstairs planning a trip that she's now that she can get away because this is done.
I'm sorry she had to put it off for so long. Thank you.
All right. Well, I won't keep you.
Um, okay, Mike, we have one more item, zoning officer's report regarding the 28 Ference Road reuse of the existing barn. Did you want to talk about that?
Yeah, really quickly. So as you recall, the commission approved a conservation subdivision of on the corner of Nath and Ference. One of the conditions required um, the had to do with the barn that is proposed on one of the lots, and that it remain for a period of time following issuance of the certificate of occupancy for that lot. The builder who is now getting started on that project, and one of the things that he asked me was if I had any concerns if they had someone that was interested and they were able to do it, which are, big ifs. Would there be any problems if they wanted to actually just reuse that barn and turn it into a house? So the current regulations basically, or the approval currently requires that they keep that barn for a period of time, and I will look so that because I'm sure you're going to ask me the number of years.
I think it was 5, wasn't it?
Yeah, so they have to. So the barn has to stay up for a period of 5 years. Um, so when my initial reaction was, if somebody wants to preserve the barn in perpetuity by turning it into a single family home, it's it's not it's these renovations happen all over the place. I don't see any issues with it. It would mean that the barn is preserved in perpetuity, and it would be one less structure on that development, because instead of having a house and the barn, we would then just eliminate that, and the barn would become the house. So I didn't see any issues with the approval. There's certainly no issues in the zoning regs with it, but I said that I would mention it here in case the commission thought differently. I think if they can do it, I think it'd be a really, unique way to sort of maintain that agricultural feel on that property rather than just building another 2,800 square foot colonial. But I wanted to report it in case somebody thought I was way off, because I've been way off before.
Did the barn, when the barn is part of one of the housing parcels, is that correct?
Right. So the barn is conveyed and is a part of lot 6. So
Okay.
that would just it would just be the barn structure that would be on that property if they did this.
And there'll be no changes to the size and shapes of the lots.
Nope, none whatsoever.
So
Yeah, if they
basically,
could pull it off, it would be kind of cool.
yeah, and basically turning a dilapidated barn into I'm thinking Ashford, no, $700,000-800,000 home. I mean, the size of it is just, immense, and turning it into a home would be gravy, I think, for that area.
Yeah. In
Yeah,
5 years, they would have been deteriorating and they would have asked us to tear it down anyway.
Right, exactly. Janet?
oh, I was just going to say they're probably going to find it's more expensive to try and
I think
build a new house, but
Hey, does that mean we're gonna be bringing in more New Yorkers?
but I don't have a problem with it. I think it's fine.
So as long as they're not on the lake, that's okay, Tom.
Is there any
I-
sort of timing put to this? Because the agreement was the barn would stay in place for some amount of time.
5 years.
I think we would be very sad to see that they tear the barn now and then don't build something else for years.
So the approval requires they maintain the barn for a period of 5 years following development of lot 6. So they can't park their approval for 5 years and then just take it down. So they have to maintain it following development there. So there's a little bit of extra time that we got out of them based on whenever they actually construct a home on that property, if they do in fact build a traditional detached house.
And like Mike said, if they do nothing with it, after 5 years, it's pretty much on its way out, likely anyways, at that point. It'd be great to see something go up there. Like Mike D'Amato said, not a house and this barn or this raised barn after 5 years, because just to level it out. Yeah, I think more power to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mark Schnobel, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it.
Tom. Good. I think we have a consensus. I think we've got, they can, the commission is good with it.
Okay, I'll let them know. Other than
All
that,
right.
I don't have anything else.
Okay, you're sure you don't. No, thank you very much, Mike. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Commissioners, thank you for your attention. Thank you for pushing through this. Like I said, this was a jam-packed agenda. We got through a lot tonight. And I appreciate your attention, your diligence, and have great weeks. Be safe.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Take care.
Night.
Good night.